Governor, we're getting a lot of email questions like this one from Amanda and Lacey about your plan to address the pension shortfall. You have talked about not making a full pension payment.
No, that's not what I said.
All right. So
That's not what I said. That's the way it's been characterized afterwards. What I said was that we're not going to be able to fund other programs that we all want if we don't address the exploding costs of pension payments and debt service in our state. And so what I said was that I want to open a conversation about how to deal with that. Never said I wasn't going to make the payment. I will make the appropriate payment to the pension this year as determined by the pension boards and by my administration. So I think people kind of got out ahead of themselves on this a little bit and a little bit over their skis. What I want to do is look at what more reforms we need to pass to be able to make these costs more affordable for the state. Because if we don't, Eric, we're going to wind up being in a situation where we're going to have to start to significantly cut spending in other areas, like education, like healthcare, like human services, because we can't afford this forever. And I don't think anybody wants increased taxes in this state. Because every time I travel around the state, all people say to me is, Governor, for God's sake, don't raise my taxes. So I was not saying I wouldn't make the full payment. What I said was, if we don't deal with these costs, we're going to have to cut in other places. And so I'm trying to open a dialogue. And I didn't put specifics out there in the state of the state because I don't want to put anybody in a box. This, like everything else, like the last pension reform, has got to be a product of negotiation. So I opened the issue, I identified the problem for the people of the state and the legislature, and now we need to work.
So what do you envision? Do you envision a $1 billion payment, a $2 billion payment?
Oh, listen, last year's payment, I think, was $1.7 billion, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think that was about right. And what I said is we'll work with the actuaries to make the actuarially appropriate payment.
You had Steve Sweeney that came right out last week and said, if we don't make this payment, I'll shut the government down.
I know. Listen,
did you talk about that with him when you went today?
I'm not going to talk about the specific things that the Senate President, the Speaker, and I talk about. That's always been my policy. What happens in that room stays in that room. But the fact is that I want to make clear to everybody who's listening that my goal is to control these costs and make them affordable so that we can invest in education, so we can invest in healthcare, so we can invest in human services, so we can invest in the things in public safety and the other issues that people are so concerned about. People want more cops on the street and they want the state to help pay. Well, if I continue to pay exorbitant amounts towards pensions, I can't. So that's what I was saying. That's the way I was framing the issue. So as always with this stuff, let's everybody take a deep breath. We got lots to do. We got a budget to present at the end of February 25th. And then we'll start the budget process with the Assembly and the Senate. And I'll work the negotiations with the Speaker and the Senate President, as I always have, and the Republican leaders of the Assembly and Senate. And we'll get where we need to get to. But it's going to be a process like it always has been. So let's not anybody get breathless about all this. That's not what I was saying. And if I wanted to say I won't make the pension payment, I would have said I won't make the pension payment. That's not what I said. I said we have to control these costs. To me, what that meant was we got to change the programs to control the costs, not just ignore the payment.
Kathy in Oakland, you're on Ask the Governor with Chris Christie. Hi, Kathy.